Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Tuesday.
Yes, welcome aboard. And Bill, they love to spend money, don't they?
Yes, sirree, especially when it's not theirs.
Yes. So what we're talking about is the Talmadge Bridge project, which is a $150 million project. They want to raise the cables and raise the bridge, lengthen the cables and raise the bridge so that we can get more bigger cargo ships into our port.
It's inevitable. And Brittany, this is the whole thing. When they built this new bridge back in the early 90s, they were told it may not be high enough as it is. And they said, well, it'll be good till 2000. And somebody said, have you looked at the calendar? That's a blink of an eye. And we were told, they should have made it higher. So now we're stuck with this problem: either make it higher or tear it down, or take it down and build another one. And that's one of the things that the port director was looking at, and maybe even another access as well, because these new ships that are coming in can't get in here except maybe most of them get in here at low tide, but you cannot sit around when you're operating a ship that costs, well, I don't know, maybe $50,000 a day to operate. You can't sit around for several hours waiting for the tide to change and make a profit. And so we're going to have to raise the bridge or build a new one.
Yeah, and I don't love either option. I just prefer that we stop buying stuff from China and we.
Well, China's not the only place that we get,
China,
that
India.
we get stuff.
Well, but I also think that, we have become so dependent on other countries for everything that I know that we're trying to grow our port here. I think that that's good for Savannah. And, I think that there's definitely a balance. But $150 million project is a lot of money. And where do you think they're going to get that money? Do you think that they're going to try to pass another tax?
No, it didn't. I don't think it's going to work that way.
Well, I did hear that they're going to try and do T-Splost again in March. That's what I heard. So very exciting stuff. Like I said, I just don't think that they just can take any more money from people. And this is a huge project. Public comments are open since yesterday, and they'll be open till the 27th. So I suggest that however you feel about this bridge, you make your comments.
The bridge is vital. I mean, it really is, and especially with Hyundai coming in here now, we're going to have to get a lot of supplies there from South Korea, and that has to come in somewhere. Where the fortunate part about our port is that we're a 50-50 port. We export as much as we import. Mm-hmm. So we're the largest exporter of chickens. We're the largest exporter of peanuts. We have a lot of Georgia agriculture is really our biggest industry, and we have so that port is vital. Pine products, all sorts of things that are available that the world needs, and it is and very few ports are 50-50.
Yeah, and I will say I have seen ships that you're questioning, is it going to make it under the bridge? Mm-hmm. It's been interesting to watch some of those ships go through. But I will say this is a very big project, and it's just unfortunate that when the bridge was originally built, they just thought, well, it's good enough for now.
Yeah, we were worried about that because a lot of people saying, oh, no, the ships will never get that big. Well, once upon a time, they said, airplanes wouldn't be very economical to fly on or anything else. So it's not gonna happen.
Well, and there's no timetable for this project as well, and I think that that's also a concern. That's a huge roadway from South Carolina into Savannah, and a lot of people use that to commute into Savannah. So might be it's going to be interesting when they start construction.
And the other hope is, and we'll cooperate together, is to have a port, South Carolina port, right next door. So, I mean, they've been working on that project for 20 years, mm-hmm. and it's still probably another 20 years away. But that would be the ideal. The port, the ships we could accommodate a lot more. It would be complementary. It's once upon a time, when the fast food places started. I know this sounds like they're running broad jump here, but when the fast food places started, McDonald's came along, and then Burger King came along right across the street, and they said, "Well, how dare they build their place across the street? And then, Wendy's opened on another corner, and it turned out they got more business when the competitors opened up because it drew more traffic, and somebody said, "Oh, that line's a little too long. I'll go over here today."
Yep.
That type thing. So that's where we stand as far as our ports go. That we can cooperate and accommodate, and we could be one of the big industrial ports of the world.
Well, I think that's their goal. They would like to be. I think they're the number 3 port right now in the country, and
fastest
I think that
growing.
Yes, and I think they're working on the number 1 spot, and super grateful to live in a place where things are still booming. I think things have slowed down a little bit at the port, but it is good for our economy here when it is definitely really bad other places.
Exactly. We have a very we do celebrate diversity here. We're very diverse as far as what we have. Where we've got Gulfstream building airplanes, we've got Great Dane building trailers. We have of course our farm and agriculture. We have the port itself. We have all sorts of and because we have container, we got a lot of container shipping and everything that goes out I-95 right nearby. Railroads are fantastic, and this was one of the great philosophies and the vision of this. I can promise you that this port has a great vision as to how this is going to work, because we had when Curtis Fultz was the CEO just before our CEO now, and they built a viaduct in Port Wentworth over so they could get the trains out of the port, and it cut down. They didn't have to go 3 different places and start over. It cut down the transportation from Atlanta from here to Atlanta by 3 hours.
That's amazing.
And that's incredible. So the train could get straight out without having to go downtown, switch over, go somewhere else, and that saves the railroad a lot of money, and it gets all the supplies out a lot faster. So
I like that.
So they have a great vision. They were building warehouses before we had business, and so when people came to look and say, "We'll go to us or we'll go to the Wando Port in Charleston," and Charleston says, "Okay, we'll build you a warehouse if you'll come here," and Curtis said, "Oh, we already have one." And they said, "Oh, well, we'll just go to Savannah."
Yep. I think that's how Savannah's gotten a lot of the, things it has. I will say the warehouses are now a little out of control here in Savannah.
Oh, my word.
That means that the port is growing, I guess. So
yeah. Among other things.
Yes. Well, and I just want to touch on this story really quick because I thought it was very bizarre that there is the whole rec department in Rican is just, they decided that they're all resigning. So now you have to go to the city hall. They haven't really given a reason. I've heard some rumblings on some of the public pages and things like that, that they probably weren't treated very well and things like that. But yeah, they're just closed and there's not a whole lot of information, but there's only 3 employees in that department and they have all resigned. So you'll have to get in touch with City Hall at 912-826-5745 in order to do anything with the rec department.
Well, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
So it's a recreation in Rankin.
Yes. Well, and moving right along here, we always talk about the border, and I think it's falling out of the mainstream media. I'm not seeing a lot of stuff surrounding what's going on at the border.
The media tires of stories.
Yes. Well, they're saying that they're deporting people now. We're not letting everyone in. However, Ben Berkwam, who's with One America Voice, he is seeing something else down there, and he's in Brownsville, Texas.
CBP1? Sí, ¿de dónde son? Venezuela.
Okay. 100% esa página es.
¿A dónde vas?
Voy a Dallas.
Dallas?
Dallas.
Dallas? Honduras? Haiti? Haiti? CBP1? Haiti? ¿A dónde vas? Where you go? Florida, New York? New Jersey? So we're here in Brownsville at the bus stop. That's the outside of the bus stop. Inside, same thing. So Democrats want you to think it's slowing down. It's all deception. They're all just hiding it. So inside the whole, same thing here as we saw in McAllen. We've got lots from China. China?
Yes.
Where are you going?
We are planning going to New York.
New York, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but CBP1?
CBP1, no.
No, no CBP1.
No.
Okay.
We don't understand the Spanish.
It's only Spanish. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So did you come across the river? How did you come? Or
Swam.
you swam?
Yes.
What part of China are you from?
Henan province.
Hunan. Okay.
Henan also.
Hunan. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
a different city.
Is China bad?
Yes.
Why?
Problem.
Why are so many people coming right now?
Because destroy our house. The government, someone
The communists.
harm.
So communism, no good.
Yes, life is so bad.
Yeah.
So, the
CCP.
CCP. No, not good.
No good.
No.
Are you alone or do you have family?
I'm alone.
Do you have family back home?
Yes.
Are you going to try to bring them here?
No, because I traveled so many countries.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
little
difficult.
dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous. What's your name?
Dongsheng.
Tunshang?
Yes.
Ben.
Ben.
Ben, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So you heard that. He said he swam across the river, but they're setting in. So what we're being told is, even though Mayorkas said that if you come across illegally, you're going to get deported, all you have to do is appeal it. And the NGOs, like the one right across the street, are teaching people that. So they tell you what to say. They coach you on the other side. So when you get across here, they just send you in, like this lovely young lady right here, working with the Team Brownsville, the leftist NGO here. So that's interesting. So you had most of the people saying they're from CBP1, but we'll find this. You'll find people that are also not, like the guys from China. They just said they swam across, so they didn't want to do the app, so they didn't want to wait in line, so they swim across. They get caught, and then they just appeal their deportation. And Biden and Mayorkas happily oblige. That's what's happening right now. Everything they're saying out of DC is a lie. There we go, guys. Team Brownsville sign is back in the window. Welcome, friends. Bienvenidos, amigos. Unless you're an American citizen that has questions about their operation and how much money they're making and why they're supporting the invasion, then you're not. Then they lock you out. Isn't that nice?
He's doing some incredible reporting down there on the border.
Mm-hmm. It's the whole part is deception. And this is why we can't trust our government anymore.
Well, we can't trust the government. We can't trust the media. You know, I'm very grateful for social media because that's the only way that you're seeing this stuff. One America's Voice, I think, is one of the only stations, as well as, you know, Newsmax. I have heard, you know, they're pretty good, but they still have some things that they don't talk about on their station. But, you know, I'm grateful for independent media because that's the only way we're seeing what's actually going on and we're hearing the real truth. Because if we just had the government telling us everything is hunky-dory, we don't have that many people coming in, we're deporting people all the time.
Nothing to see here. Look at the shiny thing over here. We're indicting Donald Trump for something else. Or the sinking of the Titanic. Here we go.
Yes, they're very good at that. They're very, very good at that. And I think that more citizens need to be concerned about how many people are coming over the border. While that gentleman that came from China seems very nice, I'm sure that he, you know, would be proud to be an American more than some of the people that live in our country.
As a matter of fact, yeah.
And
we need to listen to some of these foreigners that come in here and tell us on numerous occasions that this is the last great hope. That the communism is bad, or socialism, whatever you want to call, whatever ism you want to call it. It's been around forever. It has not worked ever, and it's not going to work now.
No, and I think that we have to do a better job of holding people accountable. I mean, our government is so out of control right now, and I know that it feels helpless, but there are more of us than there are of them. So,
but they want you to think otherwise, and that's what the lamestream media wants to do. All right, coming up next.
You know, Mike Pence, he is all for securing our elections. Can't wait to hear from him when we get back.
Yeah, that's next. At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Tuesday morning. Here it is, the 18th day of July.
Yes, and it's supposed to be 100 degrees in Savannah on Friday.
Okay.
It's going to be really warm and really
We've had 100-degree
sticky
days before.
Yes.
It's summer.
Yes, it's going to be very warm. So just
All
make
that
sure that
climate change happens 4 times a year.
I know, right? Well, and make sure you hydrate and you're prepared for those summer rain showers in the afternoon.
And of course, the media can't just tell you it's 100 degrees. It's the dreaded heat index. That's 114.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. We have air conditioning. We're in pretty good shape.
Thank God. You know, as a kid, my mom always said, I don't know how we lived without air conditioning.
I will tell you, my air conditioning went out 2 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, whoever, Carrier, I love you for inventing air conditioning. You're the best person that I know.
Yeah. But, in centuries past, you will notice the houses, or an example, I was living in a great little community of Georgetown, South Carolina. It's it's a kind of mini Savannah.
Yes.
Very historic. It's right between Charleston and Myrtle Beach. And delightful town. Loved living there. Loved the people. And I did tours. I was working with the Chamber of Commerce there at the time. And we were giving tours of these homes and things of that nature. And the homes were built in such a manner that it took care of it took advantage of the breezes from the change of tides and things of that nature. So they had these long runway hallways, and they were always facing toward the water, so that so you catch the prevailing breezes before there were mechanical fans or anything else. And it was really fascinating how they did it. And some of those places were quite cool without the air conditioning on in the middle of summer.
Yes, I will say I think that they were the people that had to build things without and build them with nature. I mean, pretty incredible when you think about it, because I don't think that we have to do that as much now. And it's just incredible to me that true talent to be able to do things like that. And you just don't see that anymore.
Well, they had one of the plantations there, Hopsaway Plantation. The front door was on the river. I said, that's the front of the house. And people, why didn't they build it by the road? Well, there weren't any roads. And the river was the road.
Right.
People came by boat to this place. You couldn't get there anywhere else.
Sounds lovely.
So that's how they did it.
Yes, and our
figure out something.
Yeah, and our friend Steve Stanton's with us today, and he says, how about the TB scare they are talking about? That's a huge concern. What kind of diseases are coming through when we're letting this many people through from different countries that don't do the same vaccinations and things like that we do in the U.S. and don't have the same quality of living that we have here. So that is a huge concern, and no one's talking about that either. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, you can see that, some of the PSAs that they run all the time of the Doctors Without Borders or whatever, and you see these kids that have the cleft palates, and the feet they were born with their feet backwards or something like that, and these guys and these wonderful surgeons go down there and fix this. So it's a 45-minute operation, and this kid looks brand new.
Yep.
And it's amazing, but it's also the fault of those countries and those governments that don't follow standard sanitation procedures and things. Why do you think we have iodized salt? We see why do they put iodine in salt? Because in the countries where they don't, and there's an iodine shortage, kids are born blind or visually impaired. Iodine is good for the eyes, and so iodized salt is what we have here. They don't have it there, and consequently, we don't have kids born blind for the most part.
Very interesting. And Lizzie Warren says scabies endemic among the illegals too. Yep, there's a lot of stuff coming over the border again, and it's interesting. We as Americans were required to be vaccinated, but people coming over the border, no, they don't need it.
This was mind-boggling to me. We just had the tennis player Djokovic, who lost. He was going for his next title, and he lost his latest tennis match, and he was going for a record, I think 4 in a row or 5 in a row. But he was the one who refused to get vaccinated, and they wouldn't let him play at the U.S. Open. They wouldn't let him come to the country. They wouldn't let him play in the Australian Open, and yet we're letting these people come across the border willy-nilly without any screening whatsoever. But they're telling us they're screening them, but they're not.
They're definitely not.
If you see, I wouldn't be. I hate to say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have another outbreak of polio. I don't know what they're doing these days to vaccinate our kids for polio, but I had the polio vaccine shot when I was in I believe the second grade, where they lined us up at Charles Ellis Elementary School and started giving us the shots. Elvis Presley, the biggest star at the time, and still dead is one of the biggest stars ever, was one of the first ones to go on and say that he was getting the shot. To encourage kids and to encourage his fans to get the polio vaccine. And polio went away. It actually worked. There were I don't recall of any stories about any side effects whatsoever. I certainly didn't have any. One thing I didn't do was get polio. And my mother said that, when she, again, growing up, that was one of the most dreaded things that they worried about. If you caught a cold, which was one of the first symptoms of having the disease, and she said anybody when they got some sort of a summer cold or sick, the first thing they thought of was, oh my God, I'm getting polio. Most of the time it wasn't, but that was one of the initial symptoms of the disease. And all of it, and Jonas Salk came up with this wonderful vaccine, a real vaccine. It worked. You didn't have to get a booster again 6 weeks later. One shot. That was it. And that's how it worked. It is just pathetic how badly that we have to put up with all of this nonsense of having these people come across. They shouldn't be coming in anyway, and they should be heavily screened. We have a way of bringing in, and I'm sick and tired of being called by the left and the media, but I repeat myself, being called a racist or a xenophobe because you're afraid of foreigners. You don't want to. No, I am not afraid of foreigners. I'm afraid of communists. I'm afraid of terrorists who come in here and will destroy this country and don't know what the hell they're doing, other than the fact that they may not be able to get a job, so they'll start robbing people. Of course, they shouldn't have any trouble finding a job. That's for darn sure.
Right. I mean, Americans really need to get back to work, in my opinion. But Joe Pilot is with us this morning. He says, good morning, Joe. And the government is not concerned for our safety. They're funded by pharmaceutical companies and special interests that want us dependent on them. They want money off. They want money off the cures. Absolutely. I do think that it's so interesting. If you follow the money, a lot of times it does lead back to pharmaceutical companies.
Well,
interesting how that works.
They're not going to have anybody to give pharmaceuticals to if they keep this up.
I mean, when you're bringing all those people across the border that need health care, who's paying for that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the taxpayer, and the pharmaceutical companies benefit from that. So Lizzie Warren says our children must have complete vaccination series to enter school, but not the border crossers' children. Correct. And then Steve Stant says, Joe needs the horrible health issues going on at the border so he can campaign from the basement. You are correct.
Yeah, there you go.
Anywho, yes, there's so much going on at the border, and I think that a lot of problems could be solved if we dealt with the border issue, the human trafficking, the drugs. I mean, there's so much that goes into this border crisis that we're seeing, but that's not really been reported on very heavily.
So how does Mike Pence feel about all this?
Well, I don't know, but I will tell you that so first of all, I want to show you where Democrats and Republicans can agree on where we're at with Dominion voting machines.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first state to do this. I'm somebody that believes that you ought to be required to give a picture ID.
To think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling this.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws, including backdoors.
We know how vulnerable now our systems were. I know the hackathon that took place last year, where virtually every machine was broken into fairly quickly.
I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here at the Capitol, where we brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines, those that are being used in many states.
Aging systems also frequently rely on unsupported software like Windows XP in 2000, which may not receive regular security patches and are thus more vulnerable to the latest methods of cyber attack.
In a close presidential election, they just need to hack one swing state, or maybe 1 or 2, or maybe just a few counties in one swing state.
I'm very concerned that you...
Amy Klobuchar?
I know. Look at all those people. Even our vice president. And I will tell you, she used to be more well spoken. They have made her stupid. Yeah. Her speechwriters have done her. I mean, I think that there's a plan for that. I think they've done it on purpose. But
I think we need to get to the root causes.
Oh yeah. I'll have to pull the video of her with the Veep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that those were all Democrats. Some of them, are some of our favorites, right?
Yeah.
And they know that the voting machines are vulnerable. They all talked about it, and that was before they all had control of them, right?
And why do you think in 2020 we stopped for the first time counting votes at 9:30 at night with Donald Trump 200,000 votes ahead? They started recounting at 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden Joe Biden had miraculously found 500,000 votes, and he was now 300,000 votes ahead of Donald Trump.
Yes. Well, and, Mike Pence, he agrees that the vending machines, there's some problems.
Yeah, he does.
It's the first state to do this. I'm somebody that believes that you ought to be required to give a picture ID when you go in to vote. We ought to have voter ID in every state in America. But with regard to voting machines, I would tell you we had them in Indiana, but in Indiana and elsewhere, they produce paper ballots. Recounts were taken in states around the country. And I think it's absolutely essential that we do everything in our power to restore public confidence in the one person, one vote principle at the heart of this republic.
Why not just get rid of electronic voting machines and call it a day, and then we don't have to debate it?
Well, I would certainly be open to that.
Is there a downside?
But what I believe, Tucker, is that states govern elections. States ought to conduct our elections. In fact, our founding fathers debated this at the Constitutional Convention.
Okay, I love Tucker Carlson. Is there anyone better?
No, I don't think so. Not anymore.
No, he I love that he did this in Iowa and kind of called out a lot of the reps. He had a lot of fun with Mike Pence. But it's interesting that, Tucker Carlson really sees it in the plain way that most of the American people see it. If there's an issue with the elections, everyone's griping about these machines. Why don't we just get rid of them?
Yeah.
Seems pretty easy.
I understand that, we spent a lot of money on them, and I was against them from the beginning. I said, I am not in favor of this. It is, and in fact, I had a argument with my co-host on the air at the time on the radio. Why aren't you in favor? I said, because I don't trust them. What's wrong with the system that we have now? It works perfectly, and it's not online. There's nothing you can do to change the ballot.
Well, and I also think Georgia is one of 2 states that uses the ballot marking machines, which means that it's not the actual ballot, it's a receipt for the ballot, and you're getting a QR code printed on that. The QR code is what's read by the scanner. We don't know what's on the QR code. That makes me very uncomfortable, and I think that, it's been ruled unconstitutional. There's a huge fight going on in the state to try and get these removed, and it's going to be a challenge. But I do think that getting Republicans to vote is obviously a passion of mine. But how am I supposed to do that when people don't? I've had multiple people tell me, I'm not voting until we secure our elections. And, I want to get Republicans elected. So we have Republican power in the state houses.
You can cut off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly. Come on. People are not going to the polls because of this.
You get out and vote. You can overwhelm the system, okay? And get the vote that you want. All right, coming up next.
PragerU. Why a republic? I think PragerU has some of the best videos. They also started a new series called, I think it's called Spreading Light or something like that, or Lightness Through Darkness or something like that. But anyways, they're doing a lot of incredible things. And when we get back, we will be
we'll show you something incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Drew, I didn't think this was supposed to be a serious show.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
By my political beliefs, I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up,
I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery, long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Tuesday morning.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. And we have a lot of people watching the show this morning. And Lizzie Warren says Billy Wooten doesn't know what's on the QR code either for our voting machines. And I just want to plug really quick that we are going to have Beth on our show tomorrow, Beth Maggioroni, who was the woman that was carried out of the Board of Elections last week like a sack of potatoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and she is the one that there was a grand jury report. So it'll be interesting to talk to her after she has been doing about a week of press. So I'm excited to have her on the show.
Yeah, and she's been around, and kudos to at least my friends at WTOC who are going to interview Beth and get her side of the story.
Yes, which is what they should do always.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So PragerU, they're doing so many incredible things.
Thank God for Dennis Prager.
Well, and I think
what he's done is nothing short of magnificent.
Well, and his team is just incredible. And one of the things that they are doing is they are changing they're red pilling people, basically.
Mm-hmm.
People that watch PragerU typically do get red pilled. So spreading the word and sharing these videos is really important in order to start educating the population on what's really going on. So they did this video on why a republic.
Yeah, why are we a republic and not a democracy?
Against all odds, the Americans won their War of Independence, but their success brought a new challenge, no less daunting. What sort of government should they choose for themselves? How could they ensure that the tyranny of the English king, George III, would not be replaced by a homegrown tyranny? One possibility was to establish an American monarchy with a better king. That was tempting for some, especially because they had a superb person for the job, General George Washington. To his legion of admirers, the fact that he did not want to be king made him an even more attractive candidate. The other possibility was to establish a republic, a government of and by the people and their representatives. But this solution came with a big problem. Historically, republics like those in ancient Greece and Rome had always failed. And when they failed, they were usually replaced by the very worst, most oppressive forms of tyranny. Might there be a way to make republicanism work and last? To structure a constitution that would protect the new American republic from the social and political pathologies that had destroyed republics throughout history? America's founding fathers, men like Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison, believed they had answers. They had risked everything when they declared their independence from England. They were willing to risk everything again to create a new, different, and better type of republic. The key, they all agreed, was to establish structural limits on power, the power of anyone and any institution exercising governmental authority. In the summer of 1787, in one of the most creative acts in human history, these men, minus Jefferson and Adams, who were serving the country abroad, fashioned a national government divided into three separate parts or branches: the legislative, Congress, the executive, the president, and the judicial, the courts. Congress would make the laws. The executive would execute the laws, and the courts would settle disputes arising under the Constitution and laws of the United States. Dividing power would prevent power being concentrated in any one branch, the concept of checks and balances. Moreover, the central government would be limited to the powers specifically delegated to it, having no powers beyond those enumerated. Where then would most of the powers of government reside? The answer was with the states. This was not, as some wrongly suppose, done to protect slavery. Rather, it was done out of the common sense belief that those public officials nearer to the people, would naturally be more responsive and accountable to the people. Just to make sure nobody missed the point, after attaching a Bill of Rights to the Constitution, the founders enshrined this principle in the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. In short, whatever the Constitution does not specifically delegate to the national government belongs to the states and the people. But the power of the states was also limited by constitutional prohibitions in certain areas, either because power in those areas had been delegated exclusively to the national government, such as the power to enter into treaties with other nations, or because the framers did not want government at any level to have certain powers, such as the power to confer titles of nobility, something incompatible with republicanism. Still, as much care as the framers took to constrain government power, federal and state, they knew their efforts would fail unless one more component was present: citizens imbued with the spirit of republicanism, people who understood the principles of their Constitution, who valued self-government, and who would be willing to do the work necessary for its maintenance. Citizens who would not yield to demagogues who promised prosperity, security, or anything else at the price of liberty. James Madison had this in mind when he said that only a well-instructed people could be permanently a free people. By a well-instructed people, Madison meant above all a people well educated about our constitutional liberties and responsibilities. When, at the conclusion of the Constitutional Convention, a woman asked Benjamin Franklin what kind of government he and the others had proposed for the nation, he famously responded, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." The wise old Philadelphia polymath had history in mind in giving that answer. He knew that he and his colleagues at the convention had supplied only the mechanics of what was needed for a republic to long endure. The rest could only be supplied by we the people, understanding and fulfilling our duties as citizens. That's why studying the Constitution is essential. How can we fulfill our duties as citizens if we don't understand the document on which that citizenship is based? I'm Robert George, professor of jurisprudence and director of the James Madison Program at Princeton University for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Well worth the money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the series I was talking about is called Light in the Darkness, and it is actually Tim Ballard's stories in a collection, in a series. So about his fight against the human trafficking that he's been involved in for many years, and it's just amazing.
Now, notice in the Constitution, there's not a single mention of public education. And the argument for public education was what he was just talking about, that we educate, that we can do this homogeneously, but what has happened is that education has been turned over to the left and the communists who want to divide this country, and that's the reason they're not teaching the Constitution. That's the reason even the President of the United States doesn't know the difference between the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
Well, he also just does whatever he wants and doesn't follow anything that's constitutional. So
exactly
there's that
right.
Too.
Yeah. So and I think that's the reason that you see low voter turnout. We're not teaching civics. We're not teaching the importance of we the people. Talk show host Neil Bortz, who retired some years ago, one of my favorites, was adamant about the fact that he said, apparently you don't want to be free. Apparently you want to be taken care of by mama government. And any, as Jefferson or anybody else has said over the centuries, any government big enough to give you everything is big enough to take everything away. It is a warning from history.
Well, not only that, is it freedom? Like, is that freedom?
Yeah.
It's not freedom when the government controls every aspect of your life. And
no, it's not.
You can't get a job because you'll lose your assistance. You can't do this because the government will do this. I mean, it's quite remarkable how people just, they don't see it.
Yeah, they blithely go along with it, and they can't seem to understand the equating their vote with the results. when they put bad people in office. It's happened in Oregon when people that left California because they didn't like the way things were going. But when they got to Oregon, they started voting for the same type people, and Oregon has turned into this left wing state that used to be, and including in California, used to be quite free.
Well, and the migration that we saw from a lot of these blue states is quite alarming, because I think that it will impact our future elections, and hopefully people have learned their lesson. But I highly doubt it.
Yeah, you're welcome here, but watch how you vote.
Yes, and Nancy Stanton says, "Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for Department of Education." Yes, that was the gift that he gave us.
Yes, sir. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, and yeah, I don't even know
It's
what
like
to say about
he
that.
also, I think, established a Department of Energy that so far has not generated a single watt.
You know, I think a lot of government agencies have just turned out to be a boondoggle.
Yeah. As the late, great Milton Friedman, I think the greatest economist that ever lived, said that you could take any three letters out of the alphabet, and it's probably a government agency that ought to be eliminated.
I 100% agree with that, and that's why I'm not going to lie. I like what JFK is saying. I don't agree with him. He's definitely far from being a conservative, but I will say he is challenging the left, and I think that more moderate Democrats are really liking what RFK has to say.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next.
Our governor, he talks about who he's going to support in 2024.
That's on the way.
Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart, doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good, Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
18th day of July already. Happy Tuesday. Glad to have you aboard.
Yes, and it's my cousin's birthday, so happy birthday, Desiree. There you go.
It's a shame. You know, sometimes you can beat a good horse to death.
Oh, what do you mean by that, Bill?
Well, in City Market, for example, it's losing one of its anchor stores, really, or businesses, the Bar. It's been operating there for 30 years, and they just recently opened another one on Wilmington Island, and they said that's where they're going.
And I will say the one in Wilmington Island, it's very well done. It's a very cute space. I was there a couple weeks ago, and they do an amazing job. So everyone's super friendly, and the vibe out on the islands is just different.
Yeah, it is. But I've never darkened the door of the place. But at the same time, this is an establishment that's been there 30 years, and they're leaving. Why?
I don't know. I know that there's a lot of changes going on at City Market, and I've heard that a lot of it has to do with the rent prices and the fact that some of the renewals aren't happening, or they don't want certain things there still. So
I hope we don't lose Vinnie Van Gogos.
I think that's quite a tourist draw too. I don't know that they would be able to get rid of that. But.
Yeah, but it's one of the best pizza places on the planet, no doubt about it. Service is great. The pizzas are wonderful. You can order by the slice or by the pie.
The slice is plenty.
Oh yeah, It's a very generous slice. That's for sure. Yes. I remember when we hadn't been there in a long time, and my wife and I ordered. And when Pam looked at this thing, this is like a whole pizza.
Yes, exactly, like a mini pan pizza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yes,
and it's really, really good. Fast service, and the prices are pretty reasonable as they can be. But unfortunately, it looks like the rent is unreasonable.
Yes, and so when is Barbar's last day?
August the 26th.
Okay. So you have some time to go check it out before this historic.
Maybe I'll go down there and see what it's all about.
Yes.
And say, well, darn, this is what I've been missing for 30 years, huh?
Exactly. And
now we got to go to Wilmington Island?
Yep. You got to go to Wilmington Island. And I will say, like I said, the one in Wilmington Island is great. They have a great setup there. I love it.
It's interesting, Brittany, that if you're going to do another one, do it right and do it properly and keep the atmosphere of the other. There's a great place here, Crystal Beer Parlor.
Oh yeah.
Best, just about some of the best hamburgers on the planet. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic place. I always amused when I invite friends there and they order the salmon or something. Oh please, this is a burger place. I mean, don't order the salmon, for God's sake. But they tried to build another one and did on the south side about 25 years ago, and it was a disaster. It was successful for a while because of the name, and people were so delighted. Oh, we're going to have one on the south side now, and they tried to make it a little bit like the one downtown, but the service, they didn't have enough people to do the service. You could go there and get a great meal one night, come back, order the same thing a week or so later, and it was awful. They built this huge bar and didn't build a adequate waiting area. It was just, and they finally, it went belly up, and unfortunately, the owner at the time had put his home at the landings and the other place for sale. So the Crystal Beer Parlor closed down completely for several years. A new entrepreneur came to town and reopened it. did okay, but really tried to make it into fine dining or something like that, and that didn't go over. You didn't go to the Crystal Beer Parlor necessarily, for pheasant under glass
Yes.
or something like that.
When my parents were in town, we went, and it was
Well,
good.
the new the new owners did it right. They took out some walls. They expanded the bar. They expanded the service area, and
Yes.
now you're lucky if you're on an hour waiting list.
Yes, that's very true. And I want to get to a couple of comments
Yeah.
before we get to our governor. And Steve Stanton said Vinnies should be protected under the Historical Act. I like your idea.
Who?
Vinnie Van Gogh's should be protected under the
I
Historical
didn't
Act.
hear what you said first.
Yes. And then Lizzie Warren said Anita's Deli across from the Crystal Beer Parlor is pretty darn good too. I haven't eaten there, but I'll have to check it out. And then Ann Drabeck is having a conversation with Lizzie Warren. I wonder why he didn't hand over the election documents. He was court-ordered to do so by the grand jury. She is talking about Billy Wooten, who is the supervisor of the Board of Elections.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be getting to that with Beth tomorrow. So our governor, he's been a little controversial because he did go to Davos. We haven't really heard why. There's been some things that people have had questions on. And he sat down with Caitlin Collins, who is no friend to conservatives, about who he would be supporting in the 2024 election.
Let's see.
You said you'll do what you can to get the Republican nominee elected, even if it's Trump?
I'm going to certainly be supporting a Republican nominee to beat Joe Biden.
But Trump pressured you to overturn the election. He wanted you to call a special session. He said he was ashamed that he had endorsed you because you said you couldn't do what he wanted you to do there. He called you hapless. Even despite all of that, you would still work to get him elected if he's the nominee.
He was mad at me. I was not mad at him. I told him exactly what I could and couldn't do when it came to the election, and I followed the law and the Constitution. And as I've said before, that's a lot bigger than Donald Trump. It's a lot bigger than me. It's a lot bigger than the Republican Party. And that's what I'm going to continue to do as the governor, and that's what I did in 2020. But despite all of those things, I believe anybody running for president right now is a Republican that would be better than what we're seeing with the Biden-Harris administration.
I just think it might surprise some people that you would work to help get him elected, given your history with him.
Well, I would ask a lot of people. I have people that say, I just can't go there and do that. But, I'm thinking of, the next president's going to be picking probably another Supreme Court justice and, judges on the Court of Appeals and federal judgeships and, dealing with strengthening our military and standing up to our adversaries around the world. And who would you want to be your president? That's the question that everybody's got to ask themselves.
Exactly right. Way to go, Brian.
Yes, and I will say he made some really good points, and she did try to trap him there. I don't know if you noticed, but whoever has done his press training for him has done a great job because he is so focused in these interviews.
Exactly.
And he interviews very, very well because of it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't fall into the press traps, and he is very direct and focused, which I think more people need to be press trained like this. I'm very impressed with him doing interviews.
Yeah. And who do you, and again, he said, okay, put personal things aside. What do you want for the country? Where do you want this to go? And look how good things were under Donald Trump, and look how bad things are under Joe Biden.
Well, and the thing that I really like about this bill is I see a lot of the infighting within our own party, in the Republican Party, and regardless of how you feel about a certain candidate, we all need to get behind whoever the nominee is, and we all need to vote, and we need to push things out as much as we can, because otherwise I don't know if we can survive another Democrat.
And if you're concerned about the security of this country, think about where the direction of the military is going. Now, the Congress just passed a big budget for the military, but it said we're not going to pay for sex change operations, and we're not going to pay for all this other wokeness and pronouns and things of that nature. That's got to go. And it's going to get turned down in the Senate because there's a majority of Democrats who don't care about America.
Two of them from our state. Two of them from our state. So,
and you had a chance to replace Raphael Warnock, which would have given this budget a chance to pass. But I don't think Herschel Walker was a good candidate. Did you watch the debate? Herschel mopped the floor with Raphael Warnock. I mean, It is pathetic. If you voted for Brian Kemp, but you didn't vote for Herschel Walker, then a pox on both your houses.
Yep. As Republicans, we need to stop being so stubborn and pout when we don't get our way in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get behind the candidate, no matter who that is.
Exactly.
And
That's
everyone
why
just needs to get on
Democrats
board.
win.
Yep.
That's why Democrats win.
Yep. Everyone needs to get on board.
Amen to that. All right. Well, we'll solve more of the world's problems tomorrow.
Yes, and remember to download our app, The Local Spin. Check us out on YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep, and you can't spell Democrat without RAT. Stay real.